All right. We're inside of the top 10 now. We're in it. We're in it. Number 9, the New York Rangers.
I wish they were higher, but top
They're
10 isn't
not.
bad.
Nah. Defending Eastern Conference champions, of course.
Yes.
Obviously outplayed by LA in the final last year, no doubt.
Yeah, I mean, got a couple calls either way that could have helped them out, but
Yes.
in the end, they got outplayed. And
Yes.
there's no excuses, Rangers fans. The Rangers were outplayed. It's that simple.
Absolutely. All right. So it started off additions, subtractions. Let's go with the losses first. Lost a few guys. Anton Strawman, Brian Boyle, just to name a couple. Benoit Pouliot.
Benoit Pouliot. I can live.
I can live without
them.
losses.
I can live with the losses. Unfortunately, Anton Strawman is, I think, the one that I would have liked to have seen the Rangers keep.
Yeah, of course. I was a little annoyed because of the money he went for. I'm not sure what he was holding out for.
He saw that he had a bigger role in the team, and I think he wanted a little bit more money. And the Rangers said, "Listen, on this team, you are our 4th defenseman.
Yeah,
and in the future, probably our 5th.
What's he going to be on Tampa? Maybe
he's not a power play guy.
No, he's not. But
he scored 1 goal a year.
Yeah,
I mean, granted, that's not what he's there for.
They really only got Dan Boyle and then a bunch of depth guys.
Yes, which is
a couple good ones, man. Lee Stepniak for really cheap. And Ryan Malone for really cheap. If Ryan Malone's in a good place and not on cocaine anymore.
Yes. As far as losses go, I'm just going to stay with the losses for now. I think, obviously, this podcast is going to go a little longer. We're Rangers fans, and, a lot of our audience is Rangers fans.
Yes.
So, losses, Strawman, yes. The Boyle one, he's the best power play guy.
Yeah.
Penalty kill guy. But I can live without Brian Boyle.
Okay.
As I'm sure most Rangers fans can.
Well, I think he only got $2 million per year from Tampa, so.
And as far as Benoit Pouliot goes, I can definitely live without Benoit Pouliot.
Because the Oilers paid $4 million per year, I believe, or $5 million per year.
$5 million per year
for a third line guy who's going to take offensive zone penalties.
And he only scored, I think, it was like 16 goals. So I mean, that's
granted. He turned his career back on the right track.
Yes,
good for him.
And he scored a lot of key goals for the Rangers. And we're not taking anything away for Benoit Pouliot, who's a very talented player, a former 4th overall draft pick. But the problem is that he takes boneheaded offensive zone penalties. And you know what? I can live without him. I see Lee Stepniak as being the replacement for Benoit Pouliot. And I'm fine with that. Lee
for $4 million less.
Exactly. And I'm completely okay with that.
So am I.
So that being said, transitioning into additions that the Rangers made.
Dan Boyle.
Dan Boyle is obviously the big one. I like the player. I don't like the contract.
Neither do I. But again, it's only 2 years.
But you know what?
Worst thing in the world. It's a lot more money.
The Rangers haven't had a threat on the blue line since Brian Leetch, and they haven't had one. It's that simple. I mean, they want Ryan McDonagh to be that, but Ryan McDonagh is a two-way guy. He's not an offensive-minded guy like Dan Boyle will be. And I like it. He's a little bit older, but you know what? The contract's only 2 years, and yes, the Rangers are trying to win now. There's no secret to this.
No.
Other additions. Love the Ryan Malone edition. I mean, he's going
to be not only because it's only a $700,000 cap hit, but it's a 2-way contract.
Exactly.
So if he bombs, you can throw him down.
It's $100K cap hit if you throw him down.
He's in the AHL.
Exactly. Yeah. And I have no problem with that. And you know what? Yes, he's had a bad pass, but you know what?
Second chance.
And you know what? In the NHL, if he gets one more, he's gone. It's just that simple. Yeah. And he's going to fit in on the 4th line with him and Tanner Glass, and then a player TBD to be named.
To be determined?
Yes, or that to be named. Either or.
Yeah.
I like that. Lombardi signed, could be a depth
guy. Yeah,
he could be on the 4th line as the centerman down there, and I don't mind that.
No, again, big thing going into the season is your number 1 center, Derek Stepan, is hurt.
Yes.
So now you're going to need one of these guys that you signed for depth to play for a month.
However, probably the Rangers' biggest offseason signing, other than guys like Mueller and Koska, who are, they're going to be depth guys. Koska might jump in when he's needed. But Kevin Hayes, the signing of Kevin Hayes, and this
seems to be the Rangers' best scouting asset, is where they miss out in the draft when they always trade away these first-round picks. Forget guys like Rick Nash. They sign these college players. You look at Chris Kreider and look at his role in the team now. He was a college free agent.
He was a draft pick though. Guys, you got to look at guys like look who the Rangers
He came out of
signed.
nowhere.
Ryan Haggerty. He led. I think he was 5th in college in the NCAA. Don't quote me on that, but he's very high up there.
Yeah.
For goals, and he was undrafted, and the Rangers signed him.
Yeah.
Same with guys like Matt Bodie, won the national championship with Union, signed him. He's going to be good.
Yeah.
And then Kevin Hayes didn't sign, and he was an RFA, and he had a chance to crack Chicago's, top 9 maybe I should say.
Maybe, yeah.
But he signed with the Rangers, and the Rangers, whatever they did, they got him to sign, and that's a former first-round pick. So Rangers fans saying, "Oh, we keep trading around our first-round pick. Look what we got back, and we didn't have to burn anything. It's literally just a signing." So I don't mind that, and I think that's great. And he is probably going to play this year.
Yeah. Now the big question mark, if you want to talk about guys that might play, we could probably talk about this when we're recording this. I mean, when it comes out, it'll be before the season, obviously.
So,
but right now, the big deal is Anthony Duclair playing.
I think there's 3 questions for roster spots. Number 1 is Anthony Duclair.
Yes.
110%. I think he stays. I think he does. He's shown flashes, and you got to weigh the options. Was one more year, but you know what? I think you need goal scoring now. Why not? The kid looks ready, and you know what? Who doesn't want young talent? Look, see, that's the question we said with Nathan McKinnon. Send him down. Look what he did.
True.
He did very well.
I don't know, man. I think, but it works. It works better on a team that is trying to rebuild, and they won't mind playing the guy that's struggling. But if Anthony Duclair comes in, he's having a couple good games in the preseason, but you cannot let that sell you. I know it's different.
He has
in
10
sports.
games before he has to be sent down or stay.
I think he's eligible the whole year. And the big question, the big thing, is that his entry level contract, he burns the first year regardless of whether he plays in the NHL or in the Q.
Yes,
it doesn't matter. And he's not eligible for the AHL because you have to be 20 years old.
I think he stays.
I think
they are trying to. They are trying to. Reporters said they are trying to move players.
I get
clear
it.
One
and listen, in which they have to do that because they're at the limit now for players in their contract. That's not that hard. You can move the worst guy on the roster, and it's an upgrade. What I don't want to happen is he's going to have his struggles early in the season, and then he's just a healthy scratch every night. I think that hurts him.
Yeah,
being a 19-year-old kid. He is better off spending one more year in juniors, killing it, which he will. He has been, than it does for him to be sitting in the press box every other game, in the NHL.
But who knows? And then the other 2 questions for roster spots here: Jesper Foss, who I think will make the team, and whether he be a healthy scratch or he plays 3rd, 4th line. Yeah. And is this the year that JT Miller finally cracks the top roster?
Not many.
It's not looking good. It's not looking good because Duclair and Foster are outplaying it, and so is Haggerty for that matter.
Yeah.
And this is the year that Evie has pretty much said, he hasn't said it in so many words, but he's pretty much come out and said, "Listen, this is the last chance you got." And I think he's a very talented player. He plays very well in the World Juniors. Played very well.
I think if he I think he's going to make the team, obviously.
Oh, yeah,
but if he doesn't play well, he could be a trade candidate for something.
And I agree. And I think he is. I think he's a product of what's left of the John Tortorella system.
Yeah, I think so too.
Because he's a big body, and I just don't think he skates well, but that's because he's young.
But like if you're looking at a team like San Jose, if they want to flip Joe Thornton
or JT Miller,
not straight up, but like if some sort of package that if it might include JT Miller if he doesn't step it up, which that won't be a bad thing.
Yeah.
Looking at it now, if he struggles again, because this would be the 3rd year he's trying to break in.
Yeah.
And if it's not working, then sometimes you just got to, this one's not going to work.
Exactly. And maybe he goes somewhere else and does well. That being said, moving on to the starting, the players we know who are going to play.
Yes.
Obviously in net, no questions. Henrik Lundqvist.
He's been the rock of this team.
Has been.
For almost
and he's in the peak of his career. He might start to tail off this year with the run last year, but he's going to be the best goalie, top 3 in the league.
Yeah.
I think he's the best in the league. It's just skills wise alone.
I think an important role is the backup. If Cam Talbot is going to be good enough to play 20 games this year,
I think
because the best thing to happen to Lundqvist was that first year that Marty Baron came in as a backup.
I agree.
He hadn't had a good
backup.
And I think
what the Rangers will do.
And then Lundqvist for years.
He's fresh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But for those years where they had a shit backup, he would be playing 75 games and then he would collapse in April and the Rangers.
Yeah.
would be out.
Well, I look for them to showcase Talbot this year and then trade him at the trade deadline because he's too good to be a backup. It's just that
True.
simple. He's another thing with the Rangers.
And his contract's going to be up, and how much money are you going to pay him if you can get something for him?
Exactly, and we will see what happens with that. But I think they trade him.
That I have no idea.
This is all speculation. As far as defense goes, the addition of Dan Boyle, I like it as much as everybody's been on it. Yeah, he's old, but you know what? You didn't really give up much to get.
And obviously, you're looking at, you lost Strawman, but you can kind of
you
put
replace
Boyle in
him.
there.
Your defense improves.
Yeah, but now you're obviously looking at the same pairings. You have the not yet named captain Ryan McDonough
with Dan Girardi.
Yes,
and
Mark
then you
Stahl
have Mark
and
Stahl,
Dan
Boyle,
and then Klein and
John Moore. And
right.
Interesting curveball here is this year we see Dylan McElrath crack the Rangers starting roster because it's another thing with him. How long can you string him along?
Well, Henwick's been playing extremely well. I think he's going to end up as the seventh depth.
And don't forget Connor Allen as well. Connor Allen stepped in in the mid part of the season, played very well.
He did. I don't know. I think it's a good problem to have. Is if someone gets hurt, then you have three guys that you can look at and say, all right, cool, go do your thing.
Yeah, no, I agree. Moving to the big question for the Rangers, and something that Rangers fans they didn't address.
No, well, we forget also we didn't mention the losses. They bought out Brad Richards.
Yes, of course they bought out Brad Richards.
But say what you want about the contract he had, about whatever, but that's a loss. And the Blackhawks, that's a huge gain for them. That's a big upgrade. That's their number 2 center.
Completely agree. But you know what? That contract was
it had to go.
It had to go. And to pay guys like the Boyles, you had to bring them in. It's that simple.
You had to pay.
And guys like Chris Kreider and Derek Brassard, they want money, and that's exactly how it's going to have to pan out. But I digress with that. The big thing with the Rangers now is something that they didn't really address in the offseason that I wish they would have, the center depth. They don't have it.
Well, right now with Stepan Hurt, Derek Brassard, your number 1 center.
Derek Brassard is, and then you have Kevin Hayes is going to have to come in. They're trying Marty St. Louis at center. Dom Moore moves up to your second, third center. And then you have Lombardi as your 4th, or Kevin Hayes as your 3rd. It's a position, and who knows? Maybe Kevin Hayes comes in and shocks everybody. Says, this kid's ready. He's good to go. But that's the best case scenario. This
is where, we talked about San Jose a couple of teams ago. If they're looking to trade Joe Thornton and the Rangers are this strapped at center, the Rangers might be a team that might call them up and say, "Hey, what do you want?" Which I'm scared of because. They've been known to move some pretty good prospects in the past.
I understand. But you know what? As I think the preseason has showed, I think the Rangers actually, for now, have some good prospects, and this is the first time in a while.
Well, they have to use them, but I'm just saying I could see.
But you also have to remember too that the Rangers starting roster very young too.
No,
guys like Chris Kreider, Derek Brassard, Matt Zuccarello.
Yes. Well, that's why I loved the St. Louis trade last year because now you not only have a great player but a veteran.
And he's got 1 more year left. So
at the least.
That's $5 million cap space right there next year.
Yeah.
And he's a great player and he's a leader. And I look for him to get an A, actually.
Yeah, he better.
Yeah. But I mean, as far as that goes, the Rangers they'll hopefully make the playoffs. And I think they will.
They will. In the Metro Division, they'll be fine.
I think they need it's another case of, all right, they're good for now, but if they want to win the playoffs, I think they need to make another move.
Big question mark, man, Rick Nash, because he was invisible in the playoffs.
Yeah, he was a $7.8 million statue, as one of my friends like to tell me. I think he's going to be fine. And
I hope so, man, because look, you pay these guys to perform in the playoffs.
Exactly. The thing with Rick Nash is, and I'm not making excuses for him. You get paid that much money. The problem, LA beat the Rangers because LA superstars played like superstars.
Yes.
And the Rangers superstars did not. And it's just that simple. Other than Henrik Lundqvist.
Yeah. Well, Nash was bad the whole playoffs, though.
Exactly. And that's what I'm saying. Nash is not somebody who's used to being in the playoffs, and that's not an excuse. Also, he did play well. He did things well. He made opportunities for other players. But when you're paid $7.8 million, you need to score. You're not paid $7.8 million to forecheck.
Yep.
That's what guys like Dominic Moore get paid for.
Yes.
I mean, every player is expected to, But just because you're playing well, no, you need goals, and it's just that simple. And I think this season he's got something to prove because I can see the Rangers trying to flip him. Who would want him on that contract? I don't know, but look at what if the Vancouver Canucks were able to move Roberto Luongo,
you can move anybody.
Yep. So I would like to see, and I think he's going to be fine, and I think he's going to be the Rick Nash of old.
I hope so.
I just think he needs help. He's not. It goes a long way to say, and this might sound weird, but when he was on Columbus, he was a lot younger. And he was one of those the next generation of hockey players, guys who could skate and were big. And I think that's kind of catching up to him. And as he's getting older, I think he's turning 30. And he's not used to being on a team where he doesn't have to do everything. You know what I mean? And I think he's still adjusting to that. And I would look for this year to have him his best year as a Ranger this year. I'll make a bold prediction and say that.
I can't agree with that right now. I hope so, though.
Yeah. I would be willing to put money on that.
I hope so. And everything. And look, we can expect what we can expect out of guys like Zuccarello, Kreider, the speedsters, and all that stuff.
Yeah. Look out for Chris Kreider to have a breakout year as well.
Yeah, and again, it's more the depth guys that are concerning. It's not the top guys.
Well, I like the signings in the offseason. I think the Rangers, what they saw as a success, and it comes a lot from Boston. The big, talented fourth line that's gonna get you some goals.
Yeah.
They're going to have probably Lombardi, Malone, and Glass. And I think that's good. And I think that's perfect because you know what? I think when Stepan comes back, I think Dom Moore will come down and Lombardi will be a healthy scratch. But that's a very talented fourth line. I mean, Tanner Glass is a goon, but they also need that person who can fight because they tried to do that without people who could fight. And unfortunately, and I know we missed this, and I have stressed this to a lot of Rangers fans, Danny Carcillo was huge for the Rangers. Huge. You go back and you watch Stadium Series game-winning goal against the Islanders.
Philly Series, man.
Philly Series, the series-winning goal.
Yeah.
And in Philly, put one in. And once the Rangers signed him, and then they added St. Louis, that was a completely different team. Yeah. Because you know what?
It's a shame because what would the cap have been? 700,000?
The problem is they don't have a roster spot for him.
Exactly, though. Exactly.
And it's unfortunate, but you know what? As much as I always love them, I know they're fan favorites, but goons go a long way. And you know what? The Rangers tried to have a team without that when they had, just Dorsett, Boyle, and Moore on the fourth line. Let's be honest, Dorsett was never a fighter.
No.
And then they bring in Carcillo, and you know what? They're like, all right, the toughness is back. And it gives them a reason, and it makes Dorsett work harder. But that's last year. What are we at for time?
We're up there.
We're up there. All right. So that's enough for the Rangers. This one went a little longer than we did, but we're obviously Rangers fans, and a lot of our friends are Rangers fans, and a lot of you guys are Rangers fans. But we tried to look at it. Hopefully, this was from a non-biased point of view, and I think for the most part it was. Our keys. Lundqvist is going to be good no matter what. Defense going to be good. How are they going to
your depth scoring in fourth line, because that was a big factor last year. Is it going to be there this year? Those
and if they are, I think they contend again. And who knows? It's very hard to go to the Stanley Cup. It's a long, draining run, and then to come right back. Because I was talking to my father today, and he said, "You know what? It feels like the hockey never stopped." And you know what? You're right. They didn't have very long, and the Rangers have a lot of veteran guys.
Yeah,
but we digress. Follow, subscribe.
Yes,
everything
at Five Hole Podcast. All the stuff is on the screen here.
It's not here floating right now, but through the art of computer editing, it will be.
No, man, it's floating right
now.
I don't know what you're talking about, man. It's all there.
No, that's the ghost of Martin Luther King Jr., man.
Oh, no. We got to go.
Peace.